Miles Davis.
Okay, before I go to Miles, you used the word in picture taking. I don't take pictures.
You make pictures.
I make pictures. Okay.
All right. All right.
Now, Miles Davis. I first, Miles was a genius, complicated, and at the time I met him, he was how do I say it? His habit of doing coke could make him quite aggressive. So I've been trying to find out where Miles lived, and I finally found out. I got there one day, and it was fortuitous that Miles was in his front yard at a gate talking to somebody, and I'm saying, wow, this is great. So I go up to the fence and, wait behind a few feet away for my turn as Miles talking to this guy. So Miles notices me and he says, what do you want? And I said, well, but he said it in such a, aggressive way. And I said, well, I'm just, kid from Alabama trying to make pictures. I want to make a picture of you. I love your music, blah, 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 blah. So he says, okay. So then when the guy left, Miles invited me in. We start talking. He started talking. But Miles, had an edge to him. He would fight every day to work out that coke edge he was going through. And, and that's what caused his father to pull him out of New York decades before. So sitting and talking with Miles was kind of strange, trying to find a bridge. I mean, I'm a young kid, And then the other part of me is that somewhere in the back of my mind saying, look for the way out of here, because you may have to fight your way out of here. So, so I keep the door, as I'm talking, and it doesn't take long. I'm just saying, well, where are you going to be, blah, 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 next time? And so you told me. I said, okay. And I went down there.
Were you shocked that he invited you in?
Yeah. He invited me in. I mean,
Were you shocked, though, when he invited you?
No, I wasn't. I was because I didn't make any pictures. Because I was too absorbed with the potential of violence.
He was that edgy?
Oh, he was edgy. Miles was edgy. He was scary. So in that particular situation, I didn't feel comfortable saying, well, let me put you here and make a picture here, blah, 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 blah. This was a bad time for him.
Just like snap or something?
Yeah, you got the feeling he could snap. You got the feeling he could snap. There are people like, drugs can do that to you. So the next year, I get a phone call. Hello, this is Miles. Like, sure, who else could this be talking like this, right? So he says, my girlfriend, she's a model. I said, okay. She wants to have some pictures taken in her bikini. I said, okay. He said, I'm going to send over. He says, and then he says, don't you try to fuck a motherfucker. I said, oh my God. That's Miles. That was Miles, he's a genius, but he was just going through a bad time. And he was, and he was soothing himself. A lot of musicians were doing that. They got hung up, with coke or with heroin.
All right, I want to ask you one thing, then I want to jump to this musician thing, right? How did you become friends with Miles Davis, or was it more just a...
No, I wouldn't say I become friends. I don't know who becomes friends with Miles Davis. And even Quincy Troop, who wrote a book on him, which I think is the best book on Miles, I don't think he would say that he's friendly. With Miles, you got along. That's all. I wasn't a contemporary. I wasn't a musician for him to piss off. You found a way to get along with Miles. That was it. He was not going to bend to you. You had to adapt to him. So in that situation, I'm not sure, if it's a situation that you would make friends living like that.
Did you get paid for the job?
Did I get paid? No.
All right.
I was too scared to ask.
All right. And another question I want to ask. So there's this notion about the crazy jazz musician, right?
Yeah.
And I've spoken to other contemporary jazz musicians, and they said it's just a myth. In my experience, right, once you reach a certain level of genius, particularly in music, it seems like not aggression like Miles Davis, but it seems like the mind goes to a different place.
Well, they're dealing with a different language.
Did you experience that being around jazz musicians?
Yeah, Monk was like that. Even Miles, Miles obviously was like that. And I would say that Max was like that. The only person who was not like that was Duke. I mean, Duke's another genius. But Duke was not detached. I mean, he was brilliant, but he wasn't detached.
That's the word I wanted to use. Like, it's almost they can't relate to regular life. Yeah.
They get detached. But Duke wasn't detached. Duke was, Duke was a playboy, to the end. Duke had this thing. I went to a couple of Duke's concerts, and I went backstage. But Duke was more suave and comfortable, And I was a young kid. I think I was, was it 69 or 70? I went to see Duke, the photograph Duke at the Rainbow Room on the top of Rockefeller Center. Making pictures of Duke inside, we're talking. And Duke comes out to get ready to go, and all these women show up. Every guy who's brought his woman to see Duke that night, they knew to go to the bathroom at a certain time to try to catch Duke before he came in. And they all want to jump in Duke's face, right? They all want to be, be praised by Duke. And Duke, I tell you, this is so cool. I just thought it was corny at the time, that it was so cool and it worked. Duke was look at each woman individually in the eye and says, that dress is so you. That hair is so divine on you. And they would go, ooh, they would melt away, And Duke just, running, I just said, ain't this some shit?
So, all right, with the drug thing with the jazz musician, is it a stress thing? Because I know they all weren't on drugs.
It's loneliness.
Loneliness. Yeah. All right,
it's loneliness. Because if you put yourselves in their position, do you want to travel every day to a different place? How long would it take? How long would it take for that shit to get boring, and you feel, wow, I really want to be home. I don't want to be here, And I got to play the same thing again every night and look at this different people, and just, life becomes like a fog. That you're playing this fog in different places, and you become suspended from your anchor, and so you have this need to develop a friend, and that friend that helps soothes whatever pain of being lonely in a way is drugs. I mean, before hard drugs, it was alcohol. So. But it was how do you numb those senses of loneliness? And then guys said, well, unlike alcohol, if I try some marijuana, which wasn't there, it wasn't in that day, but if I try coke, my God, I can never go to sleep. I can just keep doing and keep writing and keep feeling and whatever, Of course, heroin didn't have the same effect, but coke worked. And so the people who got on heroin, like Coltrane or whatever, that didn't end well. But and the heroin is what put Miles out of business. That caused his father to have to come and take him off the stage. But coke was a different thing. But it was all this thing of, people don't realize that entertainers. But then one say, well, it doesn't happen to the women except maybe to what it did happen to. Lady Day, but women don't find they cope for some reason in their groups when they travel. They have more fun with each other.
The support system.
Their support system is the fun they have with each other. Men don't have fun with each other. That's not how we're made. We're all fortified structures. And but that's. It can have an effect, and I think that effect is it doesn't handle loneliness well, and that's what that came from. And so obviously I don't judge anybody, so I don't judge them for it. I just try to understand it, And I'm not a consumer of drugs, like I'm not a consumer of religion. But, hey, different people, different things,